So, welcome to an evening with Neil Armitage, who is a member of Ellis Clark's team in Skipton. He is dealing with ready to run wagon weathering, which is a bit of a mouthful, this evening for us. And if anyone has any specific requests, please let us know via the chat so Neil can cover those too. Welcome to Neil. Thank you for joining us, and I'll hand it all over to your good self, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you all. Hope you can hear us all right, and I hope the setup of the video recording, etc., is okay. You may see Ellis jumping in during the evening as we're moving things around as I go to the spray booth, etc. It just means I can concentrate on the sort of the weather inside and sort of talking you through it, rather than having to worry about the IT side at the same time. So Ellis is sat at the side of me. So what I thought we'd do this evening is start off with the initial what I use, tools and materials for a few moments. Then we'll go on to one of the things that people tend to like to see when we're at the guild shows is the weathered press flows, because obviously a press flow is something that's weathered slightly different to a normal, let's say, 12-ton box van or a 16-ton mineral wagon or something like that, due to the cement that gets all over them. So there is a slightly different way of doing it. I am going to be using a spray brush tonight. Not everybody has access to that. I do appreciate, but some of it could be done with just dry brushing and the same format on such as a press flow as what I already do with the powders, etc., and the way we're gluing them on. So first of all, I'm just going to quickly run through and I'll start bringing them over. I tend to use a reasonable palette of colours for weathering. I don't just use ones or twos. I'll bring them over so you can see them anyway. I like to use the life colour range of acrylics. The reason I personally use acrylics, there's still a big debate about whether acrylics are better or whether enamels are better. Like most of us, we all started with the Airfix enamels, in our youth, building Airfix kits, and we got used to having terps at the side of us and things like so. I just find personally, from my use, and it isn't a preaching now. I like acrylics, basically because from my point of view in a working environment, I have a large amount of weathering to do, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I need it to dry consistently, quickly, not too quickly that we're rushing things, but I need to be able to move on. And that's why I do occasionally bring an airdryer out from under my workbench for like drying a roof on a coach or something like that, because I can dry it perfectly in 30 seconds. Also, as well, the fumes are a little bit less. It's easier on the air gun for cleaning out, because majority of it I can clean out in water straight away. And then maybe once a week I'll strip the gun down properly and give it a proper clean out with methylated spirits, cotton wool buds, etc., just to give it a proper thorough clean. Because sometimes I can be weathering sort of 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I tend to use the life colours that are available from numerous outlets such as Squires, such as Airbrush Company, etc. I'm not bothered where they come from. I've no pride on that. They are more or less ready to go straight away. The only other ones that I do use from time to time, and I'll just get one out now, are these, which are the Vallejo mod layer. And a mod layer with that on it, you can see there, it's like done with a spray gun, is actually ready to go straight into your pan. You don't have to do anything with it. Good check up, and they're ready to go in. They're in a dispenser that dispenses beautifully. That's the only other ones I use. Yes, I still do use enamels, and I'm going to come on to that in a moment, but I tend to use enamels for onto metal work where it's got to stay as metal work, and I'm doing it from scratch, let's say onto metal, or some sort of touching out or things like that. So the life color range does an excellent range of what they call real weathering, and there's 6 in a box. They're about 22, 23 pound, and you get the underframe dirt, frame dirt, roof dirt, dirty black it's called, weathered black, and they're an excellent range to start off with. And then if you just add some of the military colours, such as the different variations of rust, and there's a Northwest Europe mud it's called, which is quite a nice oily type colour, you can get an excellent range straight through. So as I say, I'm using here dirty shades of black and rubber, which are used in the military range. If you look on the military side on sort of YouTube and things like that, if you ever get 5 minutes, even though it's not our hobby, they're leaps ahead of us, the military side, on their armored vehicles, tanks, aircraft, etc. They're absolutely superb. So that's the range of paints. So what I thought I would next come on to is air guns. It's one thing that most people have asked me, or what do I use? What brand do I use? I use an Hiawatha Neo. I don't use anything at £250, £300, you know, a Harder and Steinbeck or anything like that. I'm weathering. This particular gun, I think now's about £80 now. Another big consideration for people is you do have to change needles and nozzles from time to time, and how much are the spares for them. For these are about between £15 and £20 for a needle, and similar price for the nozzle, which the amount I go through, I normally change about every 6 weeks. I can honestly say that gun is 4-year old. I've been working for Ellis now 4 years. It's 4-year old and it's never been replaced. And it does get some hammer. You know, genuinely, yes, I have a better quality guns sat in there, but I very rarely get them out. It does very good fine detailing work. And if I need to blow a siding on a tender or a roof, it can do that quite adequately as well. Compressor wise, I use a compressor with an air tank. I think if you're buying a compressor, you don't need to go down the route of a really expensive £200 or £300 compressor. I have underneath my workbench a compressor that was bought brand new off eBay at approximately £100 4 years ago with an air tank. It's running 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You never hear it. It just comes on when it's needed, and it's never broken down. And my theory is at £100, if it went tomorrow, I think it's done really well for 4 years, and it's never missed a beat. It does have a gauge on it where I can adjust the gauge. At the moment, it's set at about just under 3 bar, and I tend to leave it at about that. As you can see there, it's quite happily working now. You might hear the compressor kicking in a minute or two when the pressure drops. It still hasn't kicked in yet, and that's been on since 8 o'clock this morning, and it's quite happy. Paint wise, not really much to mixing. I'll show you a little bit when we go on to a press flow. So if it's all right with you guys, I would like to just take you through how we'd weather a press flow. So we've got an out of the box, straightforward press flow there. The only thing I've done on this afternoon, which is slightly different, is I've used enamel to just paint over the wheels. Even though they're chemically blackened on these, I use a number 110 light brown enamel, and I'll just paint that on as anything. It dries pretty quick. That's the only thing I've done. That's now ready for painting. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to do the underframe dirt all under there. So if you just can bear with me a second and we'll set up. I have a bit of a brush for putting my paint in that's just sat in a little bit of water here. And we're going to use frame dirt. Just give it a bit of a shake up. And she's going straight in. I'm trying to do it so you guys can see more than normal, so it's a little bit of an angle. Little touch of water, not a lot, because it's more or less ready to go. That's now, I'm happy with that straight off. You might have to bear with us a few moments because Ellis is just going to move you around as I move around to the spray booth. Okay, Ellis.
Yep.
Everybody back with us again now. Thank you for your patience there.
That's
so
fine.
what we're going to do is I'm going to try to do it maybe a little bit out of the booth to show you. We're happy that we're spraying now. We'll work underneath. Not too heavy. Don't forget, less is more. Can always go back and put a little bit more on. And when I've got a rake of press floats to do, there you go. The compressor's just kicked in now. It'll go off in a second or two.
Still can't hear it.
Can you not hear it? Well,
No.
it genuinely has kicked in now.
It's just broken down.
So I'm just working my way around. The main thing that is a little bit of a pet hate of mine, sometimes with weathering, is wheels not weathered. So, you know, they only do quarter of the wheel or a third of the wheel. So I'm just moving these round to get them completely painted over. Compressor's just kicked off now, so it's back up to air pressure again. Sorry if it's a little bit far away from you, but obviously I'm used to working in a spray booth. So trying to get that so you can see. We'll just go over a little bit again on the underside. And then we'll start moving up the model. This will have 3 different colours on it, and I'll run through each colour each time. So this is the first one, which is an underframe dirt by Valero again. And I will mention each one that we use each time. And I'm sure with a little bit of thought, we can do a little quick email to send to one of you guys with the list of what we use if you want to know. Just going to put a little bit on the top. Most of these are nearly dry now already. That's the beauty of acrylic. She's now probably enough on her now. For now. So all I'm going to quickly do, and I will do it here so that Ellis doesn't have to move. So if you just bear with me a moment. Back into the pot, literally back in. Lid back on that. I'm just going to spray through to get rid of the paint that's in that. And I'm just going to get a little bit of water just to run it back through again. Just running water through. That's now clear, which is the beauty of acrylics over enamels. We're now clear now. That's coming out completely clear. There's nothing coming out of that. The next colour that I'm going to use, with it being cement, is what they call a roof dirt, and it's like a darkish grey cement colour. Same again, capillary summing. We won't need tons of it. Get herself back going again. Everything's going again. This time, what I'm going to do is, rather than doing the underframe, I'm just going to gently do the tops. And I'll get this yellow paintbrush to point with. I'm doing the tops of the steel work here where the cement would catch onto. And we're just gently now, just working his way around. Don't want any onto the actual blue circle cement sign. We'll worry about that later. Do a little bit upwards as if it's just fallen down. On top of the actual chassis top itself. Same on the ends. You've got the air tanks for discharge on the top of those. And then I'm just going to lean it forward so you can see the walkways. I'm going to cover the walkways reasonably in it and do some streaks downwards. On photographs on these, they tend to run down as a streak. That is enough on her now. So same again, I can capillary that back into the actual tin again, lid back on. A little bit of water just to flush it through. And the next colour that we're going to use is what they call Dust Type 1. And it's from the Northern Europe set of military vehicle paints. And it's really good for fading down locomotive paintwork, is this one, with it being a dust. The American modelers use it quite a lot on their locomotives, and it doesn't half fade things down. Just a little mixing, just a little bit of that up. And once again, we'll just make sure she's spraying right. Yeah, she's come through. This is now dry. I'm going to go underneath now, and where all the discharge pipes are, etc., I'm giving it a light dusting. Because you see on these that the cement used to catch underneath and become obviously damp, etc. You've got a discharge pipe on the end, or nozzle on the end. So we'll do a little bit on that. We'll get onto the chassis area as well, which is why I've turned it upside down, around the pipe work, and also around all the springing, etc., where it all collects. Around all this discharge pipe work here. Same again, a little bit on the ends, over the buffer stops, buffer heads. Little bit on the sides. Just going to tone down ever so slightly the blue circle cement sign, just to take that newness off it. And same again, we'll run up onto the top. Basically, it's as heavy or as light as you want to do it yourself. That's entirely up to yourselves. Now, we could say that model was nearly done now. I will bring it closer to you so you could see. You could say she's nearly at a weathered stage. Most people would probably be quite happy with that. But what we're now going to do is we're going to go to a next stage, which is where we're going to start adding pigments to it, and the cement that's really got thicker and it's collected on the tops, etc. So what we're going to do is move away from the spray booth now, back over to my workbench. But once again, the beauty of acrylics are they are dry. If that had been enamel, we'd have been waiting hours for that to dry off. I can quite happily touch that now. They've dried off already. So we're going to move back to my workbench. Alice is just going to move us round. Now, the next stage is I'm just going to lay some tissue paper down. Bear with me a second. Just want that box. Just bear with me. I just need a box of some bits and pieces here. Light dust. Okay, the next ones that we're going to use is pigment modeling, and it's by a company called Ammo. And basically, they're weathering powders. And this one's called Light Dust. All we're going to do with this is I'm going to capillary out. Now, if we think back to scenery work and we're doing some ballasting, this is just watered down PVA glue, as you would do for ballasting. No different, 50-50 with a drop of washing up liquid in it. I'm just going to capillary some out into a little container so I don't have to keep going back to it. I'm now going to use an oldish brush that's still got a decent head on it, and two flat brushes, one that's been literally flattened out and one that still is a flat brush. And we're going to take some of his powders, put it into the lid. As you can see in the powders there, you can see the sort of colour we're after. And we're going to start, hopefully you can see this all right. I'm going to start literally on the top and work down. and we're going to start basically almost painting on where the cement dust has congealed, got wet, and become like a concrete, and is waiting to be broken off on the next sort of. Thank you, Ellis. Ellis is just moving the laptop across so that you guys can see a little bit better. Hopefully that's all right for you. Is that all right?
That's fine, Neil.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Ellis. Thanks to you all for your patience. So we just work ourselves along. I don't want to cover everything on the top because obviously people are walking up and down these and filling and unloading them, but we need to get some on round sort of handles and levers and things like that. So what I do is get the flat brush, dab it on, and then dab it over. Dab it over. And the PVA glue or the watered down PVA glue soaks in, and give it a quick tap. And we use the flat brush to work it off. And we just work his way around. What I personally like to do is to do the top first and then work to the sides, etc. I do apologize. I've just broke off a step on this. Literally just broke me off. Suppose the good.
They are very robust, though. They're very robust.
I suppose the good thing is at least we weather him. We can weather the glue back over straight away. Bear with me. Just let me get some activator. Okay, that's how to repair a step on one of these. Anyway. So same again. Hopefully you can see. I'm really trying to make it so you guys can see, sat at home, and not just hear me talking for 20 minutes and not actually seeing anything. So once again, round the hinges, a little bit on the walkway. It's as much or as less as you want to do, and the beauty of these is every one is going to be completely different because you're doing them yourselves. You're doing the runs differently. I mean, I had a contract for one of these. We worked for over 20 wagons for one train load, and everyone was done the same way, but they were all different when they were in the train. They all looked exactly the same weathered, but variations on a thing. So same again, we'll give a quick tap. The beauty of this is you can reuse what falls. That's why I put it onto a piece of paper so I can reuse it all and just clean it up and just use it for next bit. If you think that's a little bit light, you can go back over it again. If you want to put a bit more on, go back over, dab it in, much as you want. I personally think I keep saying this old sort of scenario of less is more. I think that's probably enough on it as a model. And then working on the side, I like to do these little sort of 90-degree pieces of steel work that are part of the strengthening on the model. Like to do those first, which is where they all sat, working right down towards the chassis. We'll come on to the chassis area in a moment. It's the next bit I'll go on to. Same again, get it dabbed on, get some more out. Get this worked in and dabbed on.
Looks like it's snowing.
Yeah, it's like it's snowing. Yeah. Same again, we'll give it a quick tap from the back just to get it off. We'll move that off now. Whenever you're pulling the powder off, don't go that way. It's an up and a down. So any streaks you're going to get are going to be the correct way. And then we could follow down from some of these. That's why we need a nice sort of small brush. Just the odd run can then follow down wherever you feel. You can follow them down. Another one that we can also do now is why I didn't do too much on the actual sign. We can actually do the odd little run down the sign, which sometimes looks quite nice. On one of them, it just breaks it up a little bit on the logo. You can see there, look, it's just enough. It's on there. Just going to give it a little bit of a tap from the other side. Bring all this over. And we're now going to move onto this area of the chassis. So on the eye girder, obviously it wants to be around the bottom, get it round all the support brackets for all the brake hangers, etc. Say it does ruin your brushes, but it's the older brushes you're using on this. Same again, quick tap off. And bring your powder back. It's amazing, really, how you don't actually use as much as you think you're using. Quick blow if you want. Just trying to get it so you guys can see. Quick blow if you want to, just to remove some of it. And then we'll move down again now onto the top of the springs where it would sit. Even though the springs would be moving, you would have it on the top of the springs. So we'll do that on both sides. You might want a little bit on top of an axle box, or maybe on top of the brake lever. Another one you can do, obviously there's the steps here. You can put a little bit on these steps, or the step I've just glued on. We can lose the glue, the bit of super glue that's showing. We can just lose it straight away by putting a bit of the cement dust on. So that's that side done. The next little area we're going to go is it collects. I'll just move it forward. It collects in these areas here at the bottom in the corners. Probably a lot of the other bits tends to blow off, but you get it in these corners here and underneath this pipe work. So same again, we just a little bit of the glue on. Now, if any of you is a little bit worried that maybe the powders will come off, I can honestly say we've had 3 press flows at every single show now for 18 months, and it's the same 3 press flows that are like a demo ones, and they've been held by people, put in boxes, etc., and they've still got the stuff on it. So
what you're saying is we're tight Yorkshiremen then.
Yeah, we haven't changed them, have we? We haven't changed them. Ellis occasionally sells one, but when somebody asks. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to move round, start on the back, should I say the side, not the back, move it round, down again onto the next one. I always do the top of the air tanks, because obviously they would become prone for powders to go on, for dust to go on to and collect. Again, little tap off. You can move it off with your flat brush. Little bit of a blow off. Same again, we'll put a few little runs down it from the top. Just a little bit on the top there. We'll bring some of the powder round like before on the bottom of these support brackets on the insides and run it around the corner. Nice little bit sometimes on the top of the buffer shank where it's just got in the crevices, etc., and never been taken out, never been cleaned off. You could do a little bit on the top of the buffer on the top of the coupling hook. There's like a a strengthening plate on the buffer beam, a little bit on the top of there. Back to this side, same again. I'm assuming you're happy with me doing a full press flow. It won't take that long to do. We've only this side to do.
No, it's really instructive, Neil, actually. It's very good.
Only trouble with this is it's showing Ellis how long it takes.
Honest, Ellis, it takes 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know Neil. Once he's done it, he goes over it again and does it again.
The only thing, to be fair, I haven't shown on this because it's not weathering, is the detail packs were put on these. Our detail packs, which are the little what do you call it, clips for the dispatch notes and the wooden block that goes on, and also the plate, the builder's plate, etc. They're the only bits I would do first. And obviously, if there were an unnumbered variation, I would be numbering them because obviously we do those as well. That's the only bit I haven't really shown. Well, I haven't shown tonight because it were for weathering, not necessarily putting a detail pack on.
Yeah.
Same again, bit of a tap off. Just going to clean some of my powders back into a pile so I can use them. And once again, if you think it's not enough, just go back in with your brush, put a bit more glue on, and add some more. And you can see, actually, if you really want, you can see it capillarying up like it would on if you were ballasting your track. So that would be quite a thick area there. We could have that as a thick area. Same again, do these bottom areas here where it collects. There, we spent quite a long time on Wagons on the Web looking at pictures of press flows and how it collected, etc. on these. I think really we've only just got these little bits to do on this side, and then we've just got the other end to do, and we're on to the next stage. Just the ladder end to do, if that's all right with you, gents. Same again, underneath there where it'd never get touched. Nobody'd ever go near it. You could put the odd pile right in the corner if you want to, bring them round. Bit on the top of the discharge nozzle. There we go. A little bit on the top of the buffer heads, buffer shanks. Okay, gents, that is that stage now complete. The next stage that I normally go on to, if you just give me a second just to put my lid on these and just move it out of the way, then I don't knock everything over and make a right mess.
Well, while you're doing that, Neil, John Walker has asked, what type of paint does Ellis Clark apply to ready to run stock?
You mean? Do you mean?
No, he says
factory applied.
Yes, factory applied.
That's all done in the factory, so it would be an enamel based, I would have thought, wouldn't it, Ellis? Is it, or are they acrylic? It's one I can't honestly answer because they're done in the factory. All I can tell you from my point of view is the colours are done to the correct RAL codes, and we do lots of swatches and things like that, and they're done and mixed for us in aerosol initially as a swatch, and then they go out to the factory and are matched then to our swatches with the RAL codes, etc. Factory wise, I think, to be fair to them, if it's like the Black 5 that we're talking about, I would have assumed, and I am assuming a little bit, I need Ellis's help here, that it will probably be
100% sure.
Yeah.
As
all
long as the finish is right.
yeah, all I can tell you, if any of you've seen the pre-production Black 5s
Yeah.
that we've had at the shows recently, there's something like about, even though a Black 5 is black, there's probably 20 odd colours on a Black 5, because that includes from buffer beams right the way through to the brass work that might be in the cab that needs painting, through to white for dials, through to two different colours of black, because we've got smoke box and loco colours. And the paintwork on the Black 5 boiler, I can tell you from having them and holding them, is very, very hard wearing. So I've got a feeling it's probably an enamel, I would have thought, of some description. It'll be an oil based. What it actually is, I don't know. I'll have to ask Ellis to ask tomorrow. Maybe we could get back to you on an honest answer on that. Sorry, I'm a bit of a funny
No, that'd be brilliant. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah,
thank you, Ellis.
Because that isn't something that I'm involved with. You know,
Yeah.
Yes, I do help sometimes with the spraying of the swatches months before a locomotive or a model comes to us, but that's done in car aerosol because it's been matched to a RAL code and been mixed up into an aerosol can. But when it goes to the factory, then they'll change that and match that colour to a RAL code. A bit like having your car paint matched. Do you know what I mean? So it isn't something I do in the job.
John has followed that up while you were just giving that answer with, so do your techniques apply on top of enamels and acrylics?
Do my techniques? Yes, because this here now is painted. It's a painted model, and the paints work on either. If you give me a second, I'm just going to pop to get something.
Sure.
I know we're doing rolling stock. There's a Crosty 9F there, which is a weathered model, as you can probably. I'm trying to get it so you guys can see.
Yeah, can see that.
That's obviously a white metal and brass model that's been painted, you know, enamel black before it came to me, and is now weathered.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same. Acrylics are just as hard wearing, really, as the enamels. I wouldn't say I'd use them all the time if I was painting a model. That's different. So if I was like Ian Rathbone painting a coach, I wouldn't be using acrylics. I'd be using enamels.
Yeah.
But to weather, I would use acrylics as opposed to enamels. Are you with me? Because they are so much easier to mix, so much easier to clean. And you've only got to look at the military modelers, how leaps ahead they are than the model railway world, and what they use, because we're only using their paints really that have been pinched back over onto our hobby. You know, if that answers that question.
Another quick question as well, Neil, from Doug. Are the weathering powders dry? I've used Humbrol powders previously and they are quite oily.
No, these are a proper powder. They're almost like a talcum powder. These are proper. These are called pigments. You can actually mix them with a little bit of water, and you can actually use a pigment. We're just going to move out for you guys.
Sure.
You can actually use, if I'll just get it now so you can see it. Bear with me a second. There is what they call a proper pigment fixer, which is it basically seals it onto the model. But you don't need this for that, because obviously you're using PVA glue. You're needing it thicker than they're intending it to be used. They're intending it to be a very light dusting. But these are, I mean, I'll show you now on some on my finger that it's literally, if we can just see it anywhere, it's literally like a talcum powder. And if I rub it together, it almost disappears. It's very, very It's just completely dry. And I know the ones that you're on about that are like a chalky, oily type form. It's not like that, are these?
And Keith, before you move on again, Keith, another question. They're coming thick and fast now.
Yeah.
Unlike the pigments, does the straight acrylic stick okay to the wheels and axles?
That's why I don't use straight acrylics. If you remember, I said we'd use an enamel for the wheels. And I said it was 110, which was that one there, look. Hence, there's an enamel there. That's why.
Excellent.
Thank
you, Neil.
That's why on that. If it's on a model, i.e. the sides of a model, I have found from experience with the models we get coming through work here, that whether they're done with enamel or done with acrylic, if it's on like a Helgen diesel or something like that, you can actually scratch it off with your nail anyway.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast, and it doesn't matter whether it's enamel or whether it's acrylic. If you really got your nail in and scratched it, it would come off. Never 100%, but you could get it off, because there has been times when I've had to re-weather a locomotive for one of our stock that's come in, and I have de-weathered and re-weathered. I couldn't de-weather it to a state of it being like brand new again, but it's enough to get it off the bodywork to put new back on again without overly destroying the model and making it too heavily weathered, if that answers the question.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. I'll let you continue.
Right. Okay. So I've just given that a quick cleaning over. I'll bring it over to the camera so you can see where we are state of play wise, where she's at now.
Wow.
The next state we're going to do is I'm just going to set ourselves up so we can move back onto here. So Ellis might move us over if that's all right, so we can see again. Put you that there. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see. You've sort of lost me, but you can see the model. What I'm now going to do is I'll point with. Bear with me a moment. I'll point with a brush, so rather than a finger, it's not always the best to point. So now what I'm going to do is this area here, which are the discharge handles, etc. I'm going to get a cotton wool bud, a little bit of methylated spirits, dampen the cotton wool bud, and I'm going to take off on the handle. So they were yellow originally. You can just probably start to see them coming back yellow now. I'm not cleaning them perfectly. I'm just giving them a light dabbing over, as if somebody's been over with a rag, or they've had the gloves on and they've moved them and it's taken the dirt off, etc. There's another one just above it, a tiny little yellow one there. You'll probably see those now. They've sort of come back to life a little bit. Okay, on that. Turn her over. I also like to do the brake handle as well, because obviously the white on the end, they would be moved up and down throughout its life, so they would become a little bit cleaner. So we just do those little bits. The next job after that is I'm going to get a brush, and I'm now going to be using Rust Dark Shadow Life Color, which basically it's a red oxide type of color. And I'm just going to carefully go onto the brake blocks, just give them a quick paint. The clasp brakes on these, so obviously there's 4 per side. Hopefully you can see now. I've just picked out these areas here. It's very subtle, but it's there. What I'll then also do is the ratchet area for the brake lever. I'll put some on there and just quickly wipe it back off. I'll try to do it at an angle so you guys can see. On these, there's quite a lot of rivet detail on the sole bar, etc. I'll just gently go in and just pick out some of the detail. Now, as this dries, it dries a very dark brown. So it's not a bright rust colour. It's almost the colour of bullhead rail in real life, when you get that really dark chocolate brown. It's not really rust as in flaky rust. It's where the paint's come off and it's just surface area. Just work my way around. There is one little area I have forgotten when we cotton wool bud, because I'm trying to remember everything that I do. It's one of the discharge levers there. I've just cleaned that one back. It's that one there, look. Just because same again, it gets the odd mark from people, etc. So I'll move my way around with that. Another one I like to do is the odd, very tiny little rust chip on some of these and just bring it back off on the signage. It's just nice to just as if it's been hit by the odd bit. And we'll move his way around. On the end of the buffer beam, there's the lamp bracket, etc. Buffer head bolts or buffer bolts. A little bit of worker's way around. Same again, brake blocks. As much or as little as you want to put on, really. You know.
Got a question, Neil.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, as we
Doug wants to know: are the weathering powders dry?
Richard,
I've used Humbrol powders previously, and they're quite oily.
Richard, you've
Yeah.
been asleep. You've missed all that bit.
Sorry.
yes, they're dry. They are, mate. They're drier, those. But thanks for the question again. Appreciated. Yeah, they're literally like talcum powder. Another little one. Now we've done all the sides on these. I'm just going to a little bit on this signage here. Odd little chip on the top where the if you like the levers are for locking the door down. I'll just clean them up a little bit with a little bit of this because it's almost like red oxide. It just highlights them a little bit. And that lever there as well. There's a handle, sorry, not a lever. And the last little thing, back to my cotton wool bud again. The handrails going up, just clean them back. Somebody's climbed up them with a set of gloves on, so they'll have been using them to pull themselves up with. So just a little bit of cleaning up on the back of those. That's that one done. Next colour we're going to go on to is one that is called North Europe Dark Mud. And it's a military colour from their range. And it's like a really mucky dark brown. Like a sludgy brown. But it does a lovely area on... Just going to take a little bit off my brush because I don't want too much on. Does a lovely area for into the springs. You can just darken some spring area up. I don't want to do it all because this one's got cement dust on the spring as well, but it's quite nice. So we'll just put a little bit on the spring that's not got cement dust on, just highlight it slightly. Then the other one that I use it for is the bottom of the axle boxes where the gasket has not worked perfectly, down the frames and onto the keeper plate at the bottom. A little bit of oil. You can do each one individually how you feel you want them. And then same again, same colour, buffer heads, the grease on the buffer head. Just dab that round in a circular type motion. Hopefully you can see that. And that is more or less a press flow, or a pair of press flows if we want, weathered.
Brilliant.
There you go. That's a press flow.
So the techniques you've used for those, you could
Yep.
quite easily use for rusting a wagon as well, couldn't
You
you?
could if you wanted to, yeah. I mean, if you're rusting a wagon, there are various different ways of doing that.
Yeah,
Some people like to use the salt method, which is where you literally paint a salt crystals onto it and then spray over it.
yeah.
That's one method of doing it. I'm not personally a big lover of that. It does work, but I don't particularly like it. The other way that I personally like to do is to, before I weather it, if I get, it depends whether I'm building the model or I've got to weather it. There's two different ways here. If it's a model I'm building for myself, I'm sorry to say, gentlemen, I'm modeling EM gauge. I'm an EM society.
That's fine.
At home. So if I was building a 16-ton mineral wagon, I was weathering it, before I painted it, I would patch paint red oxide type colors, and then I would use Copydex
Yeah,
in blobs, and then I would spray it, let's say gray, then I would take them back off and get a flakier type.
Yeah.
I've done that on our Darstead coaches. I've done that on the roofs on the Darstead coaches here when customers have requested a flaky paint finish. The other way is to spend a little bit of time, if it's a model that's already, let's say, a ready to run wagon, let's say a Dapol 16 tonner or something like that, and you're not wanting to repaint it, which I totally understand. I would then start with a little bit of dry brushing of the rust. On that, using the very similar colours to what are available in the military range for their rusting. I would do that. Then I would give it a flat brushing with a little bit of black acrylic into the corners, let it capillary in, and then I would probably airbrush over and finish it off that way. And then last of all, I would use some weathering powders just to give it some texture as well. Using the fixing liquids that come with them to hold them.
yeah.
If that answers that question for you.
Do you find as well that a particular type of brush is more beneficial than others? So, you get synthetic brushes or sable brushes.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't personally, only because I think you ruin them when you're weathering them anyway.
Yeah.
If it was Ian Rathbone sat here telling you how to paint a coach, he will probably want proper, stable brushes, etc., that are really good quality, and I totally understand that. For me, I tend to buy the £10 brushes that are available from the shows that we all go to. The chap that sells
brushes for you or whatever it is.
The nice good quality brushes and not too expensive. And the reason for that is I think weathering, you ruin brushes with weathering with the best will in the world. Painting a locomotive, different thing. Totally agree. But
so the brush you're using specifically for putting the weathering powders on, the white one, obviously that looks quite a soft brush, but is it just because it's been abused?
That one's been abused. I'm not going to lie to you. It's my dabbing brush. It's just called an artist brush. Number 11 is the other. I think that one was a number 5. It came from the same set.
Yeah,
you can buy. Sometimes Aldi and Lidl have them for sale around Christmas as well, in like a pack of reasonably decent scenery type brushes, you might call them. I don't want to use a £10 proper artist brush there for ruining it with weathering powders and PVA glue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all. Otherwise, Ellis will kill me. That's all. But even myself at home, weathering, you can sort of downgrade some of your brushes. Yes, absolutely. Yes, not going to lie to you. There are sat here some absolutely lovely, proper, beautiful brushes, but I don't use them for weathering. They're used for other modelling work. But my brushes that are sat over here in this area are not not necessarily the best in the world now, as you can probably see. One's like a PVA glue brush. You
Yeah.
know, it's they're just used for general weathering work, etc.
And the glue you were using to put on before you put the weathering powder on, was that just
It's as we do for ballasting. That particular one is, well, I'll get you. I just have it capillaried.
because I suppose you could also just use a matte varnish, couldn't you?
You could, but the problem with that is, again, it'll take forever to dry.
Yeah, true.
If using an enamel. Now, I'm not saying I'm rushing, but you've got to appreciate Saturday afternoon, you sat at home weathering 2 press flows and taking all afternoon with the radio on, you know, glass of whiskey outside of you, quite happy. It's slightly different to me having a customer that's
Yeah.
all 8 and, you know, have a lot of weathering to do every day. So I've got to find a fine line between a reasonable time scale and something that dries reasonably.
Yeah, yeah.
So the one I was using is the Batman Scenic Cement. It says spray or brush on, because it's basically a watered down PVA. It's just watered down PVA like you would do for ballasting.
Ballasting, yeah.
Yeah, it's no different. Just this one is one that's a ready mix one. That's all. And once again, if you think about it, in the time we've weathered this, that press flow is now dry,
Yeah,
and ready to go down to dispatch.
yeah.
You know, if you think about it, that could be going to dispatch now to be going out to a customer, literally, you know, this afternoon.
In the post tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to be waiting 2 or 3 days for stuff to dry, etc., because the backlog would be horrific. That's all. Yeah, if that sort of helps on that.
Yeah, I mean, have we got any more questions for anybody while Neil's here before we look at probably wrapping up? I mean, I think what you've done so far this evening is, like I say, has been very instructive.
Whilst you're doing that, I'm just going to lean across and just get
sure.
some of the hints to just for people if they weren't sure what they were or what we're using, etc.
Yeah, I have actually put some of the paints that you were using in the chat.
Yeah.
So, in fact, a question that does just come in from one of our.
I'm just going to say very quickly, if you can see that one is a set of railway colours, and
that's the light colour set.
Absolutely spot on. I mean, that one is 48 to 59 British Railways, and that one is British Railways late, so it's up to end of steam. Variations on a theme, really nice colours, and they do the same type of sets for weathering, railway weathering sets. And then once you've bought these, you can then get your codes and you can buy them singular to keep the range exactly the same all the way through. Rather than going online and trying to work out what's the best colours to buy, you can buy one of them sets and they do what they're meant to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, sure. Doug has just asked, Neil mentioned using a white powder or wash for fading the paint colours.
Yes.
What's the best way of doing it?
Of fading paint colours. Okay.
Fading the paint colours using the wash, because you intimated that early on, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, with a few different ways. Now, what I could do is, because I wasn't set up for it, so you have to bear with me. Let me just get me going a minute.
Just spray booth.
Yeah, I will do. I'm just thinking out loud because somebody wants to be shown how to do something. I have no problem with that. Probably just do it. Yeah, bear with me a second. Just tell everybody else to be a second.
Come on. Sorry, Alice, you've got to do the song and dance routine now. Hey, hi, Smiley Man.
There we go.
Okay. I've just had to think of something off the top of my head. So sorry, we've got an HO boxcar here that I've just literally robbed from stock. But what we're going to do is we're going to use a few techniques. I'm just going to go to the spray booth. Because it's finished. I don't want to Okay, we've got the white in at the moment. Now, with this, bear in mind, this has been sat for a good half an hour, 40 minutes as it's done. If we look now, I'm just starting to put some of that white on. We'll do half the box car. Now, hopefully you can see
Yeah.
that has started to fade. Now, if you don't have a gun and you're thinking, yeah, but I don't have a spray booth and I'm not set up for this, just give me another quick second. I'm just going to get something else for you. Might rust wash. Just bear with us, gentlemen. I do apologise. I'm just
Well, while you're hunting, Neil, Bill Rafferty has asked, do you ever apply varnish or any other sealant to a finished weathered item of stock?
no. I find I've never needed to in 4 years working professionally for Ellis, and I've never had a customer come back and complain.
Brilliant.
All right. So to put it in perspective, there's one of our Thompsons that's weathered. You know, that's ready to go out to a customer. I'm going to be really awful to it. I'm rubbing it now. It isn't coming off.
Yeah.
If I scratch it, yes, it'll come off, but so will enamel. You know, if I get my nail on and do that with it, then yes, it will.
Brilliant. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Bill.
Normal handling, I've never had a problem with. That's not.
No, I mean, I've items that I've weathered, I don't go over with a varnish either because I find sometimes it can actually spoil the effect.
Totally agree with that one. Now, this one is an AK Interactive weathering effects, and it's basically a form of streaking, if you don't mind me saying that. All right. And once again, we're going to use one of our really top quality brushes. We might even use the same brush. I'm just going to take some on here, and then I'm just going to get a cloth, take some off it, because I don't want much on. And what we're actually going to do is mainly more of a dry brush. And there won't be much starts to go on, but it'll start to change it. So we could do it that way. And it's just starting to stain. It's not changing the colour, it's just it is changing the colour, but it's not changing the actual full colour. It's just lightening it ever so slightly. There's another one in here. I'm just trying to find white dust because I didn't know we were actually doing this one tonight. So it's
no problem.
It's one I've just there we go. Right, this one is another one. We'll just get a little bit more on it. Right.
Does AK Interactive also do pencils as well, don't they, for doing this?
They do. Yes, they do. They do. Yeah, they do quite a lot for the military scene. To be fair,
yeah.
I've just gone to another flatter brush. You probably see now. There's not much difference between that and that. This side was done with the gun. That side has just been done with the AK Interactives, and I'm just same again. I'm just literally.
Yeah.
There's not much difference. I'm just going to get a little bit more on it, wipe it back off, and I'm trying to do it so you guys can hopefully see. It's almost like watermarks, water streaks. So you can do it without. Try to get it at 90 degrees to you. You can do it without a gun. You know, if somebody sat there at home now thinking, yeah, but I don't have a gun and I don't have a spray booth, I would like to have a go, which, you know, so try some of these AK Interactive weathering effects. Next time you see us at a show that's not an O-Gauge show, buy a wagon like this from us and have a go. You know,
practice,
you're not going to harm a £50 Dapol wagon or what have you. Have a go with a couple of quid, you know, $5 worth of box van that you're never going to run. Have a little play, and you can see that literally in minutes we've got that started to fade off. Hopefully that answers the question about fading.
Yeah. Dr. Dave has asked, what about running weathered stock in the rain on a garden railway? Varnish needed?
No.
And he's then also asked, what lights do you use over your bench? I take it they're LED.
Yes, they are. These here you're on about. I'm assuming.
I'd go for both in the
Well,
booth and on your
the ones
workbench.
under here are an under counter stroke under worktop light that you buy sort of from Amazon that are used for kitchens and things like that.
Yeah.
Workbench wise, they're just one's like a magnifying glass with a LED ring
Yeah.
within it. Basically, yeah.
Okay. John
Straight up.
Walker. John Walker has asked, can you wash the weathering off if you don't like it?
Okay. Yes-ish, and I mean that in a little way. I did sort of cover it slightly earlier on when I mentioned
Yeah.
about occasionally I do have to do some sort of refurbs on models that we've got in stock here. That one we've just done now, I've just got a cotton wool board with a tiny little bit of meths on it. This side, if you remember, I sprayed. Gone quiet because I'm just showing you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can you see there? There's a slight little bit of
Yeah.
dirt on it. I mean, you could actually say, has it cleaned it? In a weathering point of view, you're never going to get a model back to pristine condition again if it's been weathered, whether it's enamel, whether it's acrylics, whether it's powders or anything. It never is. It's the nature of the beast.
But at least that proves what you've just shown is that if you do put too much on, you can take it back.
You can, and to be fair, that is a technique that I would also use myself. I do that sometimes and take it back, especially on diesel body sides. I'll tend to use a flat brush, one of those flat brushes again with meths, and bring it down and streak it downwards and remove that paint that I've just put on. So yes, you can, as you can see there. And the other one as well, just the same. That's coming off just the same. Look, you can see at the top there, it's coming off with meths.
Brilliant. Julian Best has asked, if you do accidentally scratch your finished weathering, what's the best way to repair it?
Yeah, okay. I have done this with products that I've been doing here that I've sent out. I've sometimes marked one, got it slightly wrong. Realistically, you would have to weather the panel.
Yeah.
So if it was a coach, you would go from door edge to door edge.
Sure.
And up to a window bottom, a little bit like a car painter would do if he was painting a car. He wouldn't just paint a door, he might have to blow in the front wing as well.
Yeah.
So you have to think of it and think, right, okay, I'm not going to do it because it's a customer one, but I'll show you sort of in a way on this. If that was scratched, let's say there, I would do that whole panel. So I would clean that panel off with meths. It's never going to come back 100%, but it's going to be weathered again. Then I would blow that panel in.
Yeah.
Or if it was that door, I would just do that door because it's got sections, obviously door edges, etc. Hopefully that answers it. It'd be a little bit of work. It'd be a pain. You could say, what if it was, okay, let's be really awful and let's say, what if it were a Crossley boiler 9F? Well, if it were on the boiler, we'd do in between boiler bands and do that panel as a section. Are you with me?
Yeah.
If it was a roof, do that section. If it were a cab side, do that section. Don't need to do it all. Just do a section logically and think, where does it actually stop as paintwork? Where is there a joint naturally?
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers that question.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. So it's 9:15. Do we have any more final questions for Neil before we start to wrap up? Nothing forthcoming from anybody.
Any more?
Oh, no, don't think so. No, it seems to be fairly quiet. So I'd like to thank, on behalf of everyone, Neil and Ellis for taking the time out this evening for us to do what I think has been an excellent session on how to weather certainly a press flow, but the techniques that Neil uses for weathering items of rolling stock. Dr. Davis said, very interesting session. Peter Alton, brilliant. Thanks so much.
I mean, there's a Wickham there. You can see just the same, your detail on the roof, etc.
Yeah. Brilliant.
It's the same with a Dapol wagon, whether it be a kit built wagon, etc. The same rules apply, but we
Yeah.
just thought that maybe a press flow might be a little bit different because we are using powders as well.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
in a slightly different way of fastening them on because they need to be so thick, compared to maybe using weathering powders as a weathering medium on a smoke box door or something.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I'm a great advocate of weathering powders. I've been using them for donkey's years, probably like yourself.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think they're very underrated.
Yeah, they are. They are very underrated. But same as on that, if it's something that you've enjoyed tonight, go on YouTube and put in a YouTube video on somebody weathering an armored vehicle or something.
Oh yeah, some of that stuff's fantastic, isn't it?
Absolutely, you go, wow. And they're feeding them down and things like that. All right, these models don't move, I agree, but they're still superb.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys on Facebook, aren't there? There's a one specific group about military modelling, and there's an Italian guy that does stuff, and it's out of this world.
It's
really stunning dioramas
of railway modelling, and if we could just take a little bit of that and think, oh, I could do that on a wagon. That rusty effect might work on a 16-tonner and give it a go. You're probably going to be like really happy with what you've done. That's all.
Right, lovely, thank you. I'm going to remove the spotlight from you now, and just before we finish, I'm going to do a quick screen share for what we've got coming up. So hopefully everyone can see this. First of all, there we go. Thank you to Neil Armitage and Ellis at Ellis Clark Trains for this evening. We appreciate your time and your wisdom. So next month, or next evening is with Jakub Statula from Elcut Creative, where he'll be taking us through building laser cut kits, and he's going to specifically look at one of the station platform shelters that they do as a kit, and he'll be taking us through all the stages of building one of those, much like Neil has taken us through the stages this evening of weathering a press flow. So that's Thursday the 26th of October, still at 8 o'clock BST, because British Summer Time doesn't change until the 29th of October. And bookings for that will start at midnight tonight, and full joining instructions will be sent out to you when you sign up if you wish to partake. Off the back of that, 4th of November, we've got our annual virtual model railway show. We'll have live and recorded layout tours, demonstrations, the trade show, live Q&A sessions, and something for all of us really. And I know there are actually a couple of layouts that have been shot and have been filmed that we haven't seen before, and one specifically that is going to go onto the exhibition circuit but hasn't been on the exhibition circuit yet. So it'll be a premiere viewing of that particular layout from up at Hessel in East Yorkshire. Additionally, our modelling meetings for Guild members is still ongoing. So these were started by a suggestion from one of our Guild members, Simon Hill. These Zoom meetings are designed to be a real-time extension of the website where members can meet and talk about what's on their workbench. And from what I hear, they've been very, very good sessions so far. They've not had a great many people taking part, but you don't necessarily want too many people. So they're worth looking at for Guild members. The advertised on the Guild website. So if you visit GOG events, as it says at the bottom of this slide, there's an online modelers meetings section where you can look at what is coming up. And the next one is Thursday night this week. So basically I think it's 6 o'clock, or maybe 6:30. I'm not sure. I think they've changed the time a little bit. This Thursday, there's another one. If you'd like to join in that, then please do. On the Guild website, you can look at the events page, and here it is. And there's the arrow that Jackie has put on for the online modelers meeting. So that's where to find them, which is the same place where you'll find what's happening with our annual shows, or even our evening withs, which are just above the online modelers meetings there. And there's another example from the diary of events as well, which is another place you can go. Click on the heading for the Zoom link. So online modelers meeting, join Simon Hill and Rob Pullum. So we go 28th September, 2 days time, for an online modelers meeting. I might come along to that one to see what all the fuss is about. And then into 2024, our next face-to-face event is our Spring Show at Kettering. It's back on the calendar at I can't remember the name of the place now, our usual centre, Kettering Leisure Village at Kettering, Saturday, 2nd of March 2024. Admission price is currently to be confirmed, but they're going to be very competitive, that I do know. And that is looking like it's going to be quite a good show as well, with what I've seen of what is being planned in terms of layouts and demonstrators. I think we've got some new demonstrators there. Our usual trade attendees will be there as well in full. So that'll be our first one for 2024. And all I can have to say now is thank you again. And we'll see you on Thursday, 26th of October 2023, 8 o'clock, still British summertime, as it says there. So I hope that many of you who have joined us this evening can join us again next month. So I'll stop sharing. So once again, all I can say is thank you to Neil and Ellis for their time this evening. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you all at a face-to-face event soon. Thank you.
Guys.
Okay, thank you for everyone attending. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we'll see you all soon.